The air around the Manhattan federal courthouse crackled with an unexpected energy that Friday. It wasn't just the weight of the ongoing sex trafficking trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. A different kind of buzz was rippling through the area. Then he appeared, Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. Dressed entirely in white, a stark visual against the backdrop of the serious legal proceedings, his arrival just before noon sent a jolt through the gathered media and onlookers. Emerging from the routine airport-style security screening, the inevitable question hung in the air, finally voiced by a reporter. Was he there to support Combs? A simple, yet weighty, nod was Ye's only verbal confirmation. With that, he moved with purpose, hustling towards the elevators, a silent figure navigating the gravity of the situation. The question of whether he might later take the stand on Combs' behalf hung unanswered, adding another layer of intrigue to this already captivating drama. His swift, almost urgent, movement conveyed a sense of intention, yet the full scope of that intention remained, for now, a closely guarded secret. Despite Ye's clear intention to be present at the trial, the reality of gaining access to the main courtroom on the 26th floor proved to be an insurmountable hurdle. Courthouse security maintained a strict perimeter, a necessary measure given the sensitive nature of the proceedings and the intense public interest. Admittance to this inner sanctum was tightly controlled, with coveted seats reserved for Combs' immediate family, his extensive legal team, credentialed media representatives, and those members of the public who had endured hours-long waits for a chance to witness the trial firsthand. Ye, it turned out, did not fall into any of these categories. His fame and his stated support were not enough to bypass the established protocols. This denial of entry immediately added an unexpected twist to his appearance, raising questions about the purpose of his visit if he couldn't even be in the same room as his friend during the trial. It highlighted the stark divide between celebrity status and the unwavering rules of the legal system. Undeterred, or perhaps directed by his team, Ye was escorted to a different courtroom, one located 3 floors below the main trial. This was an overflow room, typically used to accommodate the media and public when the primary courtroom reached capacity. Here, the ongoing testimony was being broadcast live on a large, closed-circuit monitor. Interestingly, this wasn't even the usual overflow room. That space was already packed. The reason? A wave of misinformation had spread, fueled by the very news of Ye's presence, leading many to believe he would be in that specific location. This detail underscores the chaotic energy that even a brief celebrity appearance can inject into a high-profile event. So, while the main courtroom remained out of reach, Ye found himself in a secondary space, an observer at a remove, watching the unfolding legal drama through the cold lens of technology, a silent witness to the proceedings involving his friend. Ye's time in the overflow room was surprisingly short-lived. He took a seat in the front row, a position that would typically suggest an intent to follow the proceedings. He was accompanied by Sean Diddy Combs' son, Christian, along with a bodyguard and another individual identified as a supporter of Combs. Notably, a court officer ensured that the side of the room where they were seated remained otherwise vacant, creating a somewhat isolated bubble around this small group. For a brief period, Ye watched the monitor, presumably taking in the ongoing testimony. Then, almost as suddenly as he had arrived in the room, he looked around, his gaze sweeping across the other occupants. Without a word or any discernible signal, Ye abruptly stood up. His companions followed suit, and the small group made their exit. This swift and somewhat unceremonious departure added another layer of enigma to his visit. It left observers wondering what he had seen, what he had felt, or what had prompted him to leave so quickly. His brief presence felt more like a fleeting cameo than a sustained show of support within the courtroom setting. As Ye and his group exited the overflow room and made their way out of the courthouse, they were met by the waiting throng of reporters and television cameras, all eager for a statement, for any sliver of insight into his unexpected appearance. However, Ye remained resolute in his silence. He offered no further comments, no explanation for his visit, no indication of his thoughts on the trial. He simply walked past the media, his expression unreadable, before ducking into a waiting black Mercedes sedan. The car then pulled away, leaving behind a cloud of unanswered questions. Back in the main courtroom, despite the lack of direct interaction, word of Ye's brief presence had clearly reached Sean "Diddy" Combs. Reports indicated that Combs appeared elated and aware that his friend had made the effort to show up, even if they hadn't been able to connect directly. This suggests a level of unspoken communication, or perhaps simply the knowledge that a high-profile figure like Ye had made a public gesture of support, a potentially significant moment in the midst of the serious allegations he was facing. Ye's unexpected appearance at the courthouse didn't occur in a vacuum. It came on the heels of several intense days of testimony from a woman identified in court only by the pseudonym Jane. Her detailed and at times disturbing account of her alleged relationship with Sean "Diddy" Combs, stretching from 2021 until his arrest the previous September, had been a central focus of the trial. Notably, just the day before Ye's arrival, Jane had concluded 6 days of testimony. Her allegations included feeling coerced into frequent, days-long sexual encounters with male sex workers while Combs allegedly watched and sometimes filmed these drug-fueled events. Adding another layer of intrigue, Jane also testified about a 3-month break in her relationship with Combs, during which she took a trip to Las Vegas in January 2023 with a famous rapper who was described as a close friend of Combs and an icon in the music industry, along with this rapper's girlfriend. While Ye was not explicitly named in connection to this trip during the open testimony, the detail of a prominent musical figure in Combs' orbit being involved in such a context adds a subtle, yet potentially significant, layer to the overall narrative surrounding the trial and those in Combs' circle. Ye's brief and somewhat bizarre appearance at Sean "Diddy" Combs' trial has left a trail of unanswered questions hanging in the air. Why did he choose this particular moment to show up? Was it purely an act of solidarity towards a longtime friend facing serious legal challenges? Or were there other motivations at play? The fact that he couldn't even access the main courtroom raises further questions about the true purpose of his visit. Was it a symbolic gesture intended for public consumption, for Combs himself, or perhaps for some other unseen reason? His silence upon arrival and departure only amplifies the mystery. Did he intend to offer more substantial support that was thwarted by security protocols? Could his presence be linked in any way to the testimony that had preceded his arrival, particularly the details shared by Jane regarding the trip with another famous rapper close to Combs? The lack of concrete information has naturally fueled a wave of speculation online and among those following the trial closely. Was this a calculated move, a spur-of-the-moment decision, or simply another unpredictable chapter in the ongoing saga surrounding these two influential figures? In the grand narrative of Sean "Diddy" Combs' high-profile sex trafficking trial, the fleeting appearance of Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, stands out as a particularly surreal and enigmatic episode. His inability to even enter the main courtroom, followed by his brief and silent observation in an overflow room before his abrupt departure, underscores the intense scrutiny and strict protocols surrounding this legal battle. Whether his visit was a genuine display of friendship, a calculated public gesture, or something far more nuanced remains shrouded in speculation. However, it undeniably injected another layer of intrigue into an already complex and closely watched case, further highlighting the interconnectedness of fame, influence, and the serious allegations being addressed in the courtroom. As the trial continues to unfold and more testimonies are heard, Ye's brief cameo serves as a potent reminder of the many unanswered questions that still linger and the intense public interest that surrounds every aspect of this unfolding drama. What do you make of Ye's visit? Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. This concludes the script based on the provided article. Let me know if you have any other requests or would like to refine any part of it.